Oh, but like, yeah, the advancement technology. Like, if I would have seen what a PS5 can do compared to like a PS2 when I first got it as a kid, it would have blown my freaking mind. And then, let alone like, for instance, when I first played Minecraft, let's just say first time I played Minecraft was in 2011 with my buddy. I thought it was the coolest thing to be able to get a minecart, make a lava wall, and then put a minecart on their side and just hop through. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. But then, like, just now seeing the involvements of just that game alone and then mods and technology and how much that has grown is insane. It is so cool to see just within like 10 years how much games have developed, how much technology has developed. We're getting to the point where cars are like more self-reliant, more self-driving, like the future, how like Teslas can coast with, like, you still have to be attentive, like you can coast and with all of its sensors and stay up to speed. It is so cool to see that. So
People always say like VR is the next thing in gaming. I don't know about that.
It's gonna be AR, alternate reality, not VR. I think.
No, I think well, it's the hard thing, right? Where you don't know what it'll be. Predict the future is always hard, right?
Well, this is what I imagine. Like, I want to walk into like my house or like an apartment, for example. I think apartment would be a great example. I have the bare necessities. It's white walls, but then I click something on my glasses, right? And then all of a sudden, like, these would look like normal reading glasses. And I'd click a little tiny button or wave my hand, say something, and then all of a sudden my house looks vibrant. There's plants. There's a 100-inch display on the wall, but it's all just done in alternate reality.
You mean like augmented reality?
Yeah, augmented reality. Yeah. Like,
no, I think that's really cool, and I think that's
then
where
I'd get
things should go, because like the whole like thing with what do they call them? Like the Echo frames.
yeah,
They have a few things that's pretty cool. They have a few things too with like the Google Glass thing they had a few years ago.
Google Glasses.
Yeah.
Google Glasses sadly crashed and burned like every other Google project, which is kind of sad. I was hoping they would actually work.
I mean, they still have the technology, and they still have some really cool stuff they do with them. But from what I remember hearing is that I guess one of the biggest problems is just, just like you get a prescription for your contacts or for these glasses, they're even more sensitive to where like you need to make sure that these actually work for your focal point of your eyes, and I mean, like Hannah has an illness where her prescription for her eyes changes across the day based on blood sugar. So, like,
That's fun.
yeah, good luck getting a pair of glasses that actually works like that. Unless it had so much, I don't know. I feel like batteries have to go a lot further and other things have to go a lot further. But that'd be super cool if I can just have glasses on my face when I'm driving that give me all my directions. And like,
Or are we going to see like Ready Player One, like New York City? Like, you're not even gonna have 100 inches on your wall for alternate reality, right? Like, would VR be better for some things like that, or will they like merge? Will it be like, here's your, like in a rural area like this, it'd be a VR lounge, and then in New York City you just own a VR headset.
I feel like there could be a mix of like, I liked what Pokemon Go did, where people had to like walk around and travel certain places. Just imagine something like that, just augmented reality of having even something like an open world game, but within your own city. Having quests or doing achievements.
There's a really cool game where they basically took every city with a certain population and made that city have a few points, and you actually walk around the city with your phone and a camera, and you find certain points, and you could capture the point. And then if you triangulate the points on a certain team, you'd capture that area as it was like your square footage that you captured. And so people would actually be on different teams. You could travel different countries, make a new point there. And the whole goal was like to capture the most territory with like your vertices across the map, the globe. Really cool game. Again, like there was always the one crazy guy who traveled the world all the time, and he just joined one team and they won.
Yeah.
But because there wasn't enough player base. But a really cool idea, right? Where it's like you it's all about how many square feet or square inches, whatever it is, you couldn't capture. Whatever team was, they were actually quite balanced for a while. And like certain cities it was like Pokemon Go, but like more math oriented.
Well, what if it was like you put on a pair of AR glasses, right? And you have like some sort of tracking gloves on, right? Just so it could track your body, like certain tracking points. And then you just run around, and it's like, yeah, there's a goblin on that sidewalk, and you're just swinging like your sword fighting the goblin.
And punch the old lady next to you.
Yeah.
hey, the old lady's innocent. She has nothing to do with it.
She was the goblin. You just didn't realize it. You were just
Well,
tricked.
that old lady needs a little bit of Botox then.
Oh no,
Oh no.
poor old lady. Not all old ladies are ugly. Just saying. Disclaimer: not all of them. I imagine some probably.
I don't know.
Whenever I read the old children's books, they had like the old witch who'd bake you in the oven. She always had a really like warty
Like
old
the
nose
warts and the massive like triangle like nose and
yeah,
the creaky old like
turn her green and half the height,
know,
she'd be a
like that.
goblin. Yeah.
yeah.
You're not wrong. Like that's kind of a sad thought. Are witches just goblins?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think they're like a half breed if anything.
Half
they have
orc,
like
half
some human
witch?
features, but like,
Maybe some goblins are witches, but not all witches are goblins. One of those
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Or like a human and a goblin, go to the back of a room and the
And then
witch
a
is
witch
made or
comes
something.
later.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
scary thought. I
no.
don't want to think about that.
Why did we devolve to this?
Talking about blockbuster to
Blockbuster
witches
to
and how they
witches.
are made and
How
what's their race, what's their abilities.
Uh,
Making a
hey,
D&D race.
all
right
I
here,
know
man.
is paladin bards are the best combination of classes because 2 charisma classes, and you just go, hey, really quick, have some bardic inspiration. By the way, lay on hands, use that bardic inspiration to heal even more.
that's a pretty good perk.
Like,
Yeah.
it's free
I
healing.
remember some multi-class one of my campaigns where they basically just tried to maximize their crit chance as a rogue. Took all the different perks and feats that you crit on on an 18 or a 19 or a 20, and then they just sneak attack everything, and it was. I mean, you could counter the play pretty easily, but it was still fun to watch them like just dish out damage like no other.
Yeah. I've always been either support or like tank in any game I play. Like Rainbow Six, I'm more like a supportive player. I'm not like one to get top amount of kills, but I support my team, either give them armor or like I go into like a Montaigne with he's a big shield to protect my teammates from like C4 grenades, shots. Basically like a free peek machine, give them a lot of intel. Well, like when I play D&D, I've always been that. I've been a barbarian, a totem barbarian. I could just be a massive tank, take a bunch of brutal hits back to back to back, but the cleric can keep on healing me over and over again. Or I've always been like a rogue, hidden behind the scenes, giving more intel, being able to strike people and just eliminate something really quick. I'd say probably my favorite one is always being a barbarian, because being a barbarian does not take any brain power, because usually they don't have brain power. They're not intelligent at all. They always rely on their strength and their brute.
You don't have to be smart in real life either to play them.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could just put all of your like strength just to like just pure strength to just throw people across the room or be able to just dual wield weapons, stuff like that.
See, this is why I played my troll as a troll, like not troll as in the race, but like my character. We were allowed to have one magic item because I came into this campaign midway, so they're like, "Hey, you can start with a magic item." Because we were level 6 when I came into this campaign. It's like it's Pathfinder, and I was looking through the book. I was like, "Hey, there's this a sword made of fire called Flame Tongue. It's got this daily ability, which is a giant cone of flame." No, it was a ray of flame because it just extended the blade like 30 feet or something. We ran into this hallway in this dungeon. They found me midway in the dungeon, so this dungeon was already constructed completely by the DM. I was like, and he described it as like, there's cobwebs. It's dark. I was like, how wide is the tunnel? He's like, 5 feet wide. I was like, I took out my sword, just wasted the daily building. He's like, you hear screeches of spiders. And then we go walking through, and the cobwebs burn up. And I walk through, I'm like, because he had me roll for damage. Now, of course, it was a crit. That 20 right off the bat.
Oh, boy.
And darn, like, we walked through, he's like, we counted, there's like 5 spiders just waiting to ambush us that were venomous. We're like, I think I just wasted the whole encounter, guys.
No, as whenever I've DM'd, I actually kind of support plays like that sometimes. I think it's like it's almost like, for example, the mentality I have is that I want it to be a problem they have to solve, but I also want to have certain ways they can solve it that give them a really, really good reward if they think of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, with this one campaign we're just doing now, we have they had to pick one of 2 ships, and the whole idea was like, okay, you're only supposed to take one, and you're instructed by a very powerful thing, only take one. And they're like, okay. They get there, and they're like, but I made both ships so balanced, so like, we can't pick one. We want both of them. And I was like, I never said you couldn't take both. There'll be consequences, but try. And then, of course, there's like a bunch of other ways they could do it, but like they didn't have the best scenario, but they got rewarded and got both ships and a pretty good turnout just because they were creative enough and found solutions.
Yeah, so I'm one of the players in that. I have like this cyborg rogue. And so part of the campaign is one of our people that also work here. She has this gnome with like a technology like background. So with her stealth, because she used to be a thief, obviously.
I feel that to be obvious.
Yeah, she snuck on to the other ship while we were packing the ship we were gonna take, the bigger ship. And then me and another person in the party, he's like this warlock. And I am this like mechanical rogue. We distracted and unlocked the ship from the station we were in when we were just talking to them, saying like our final goodbyes and making sure that they'll be okay, and making sure our ships are all fueled, our ship is fueled and stuff like that. And while we did that, we just unlocked it. But for some reason, when we switched over back to her gnome, she just couldn't. She had like figure out how to unclamp it, even though we were going to unclamp it. We didn't metagame this, like a good D&D session should. And so she was out there with like an escape pod trying to figure out how to take these clamps off. And when she tried to roll, like to see if when we took the clamps off, her roll was like very low, so you didn't even notice. So she spent like a little bit more time out there, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I think we just failed, even though we just made it way easier for her just because of a single roll. But it's a fun time. It's a good time. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens next, just as like a player for the D&D session, since now we have 2 ships and we don't know where.
I was very sad because I thought they were going to pick one of them, so I didn't prepare the map for the other one. And I had to prepare like a whole bunch of maps.
You should just be like, yeah, so you crash that other ship in an asteroid. I killed a player off that one way like that.
I don't like doing that, though.
It was a trouble player, right? And we had to get rid of him.
Like the consequence. So I like having consequence. Like, so the universe needs to have balance, right? So the idea is if they got the best reward by breaking the rules, the breaking of those rules will have consequences. So, for example, the entity told them only take one will not take too kindly to them taking both.
Double
something
enemies?
else that was going to be happening that would have helped them on one ship is not going to be helping them anymore because they took both. So now they're like, there's no backup. Now, the guy they were friends with who was helping them out in the station, they kind of ruined his thing. So now he's not as nice to them anymore.
Yeah.
He's upset about it. Like, a lot of problems are created from taking both. So it's like there's enough drawback to it, really, in the long run, that actually they didn't really win out anyways.
Will a life support system fail? Will a life support system fail? That's all we need to know.
If they roll a 1 trying to fix something, maybe, but no.
I'm
not just gonna kill them. I'll just make the consequences have more.
Well, it's like recycling
them later.
oxygen. They gotta like consolidate,
I mean, they already have a few problems, right? Like they don't have any. So the second ship they took was not loaded with any supplies or any extra fuel. So they're gonna have to go find. There's gonna be a lot more expense to maintain both of them. A lot more. They have a little extra more space, but at the same time they have to have even the party has to spend even more to pilot both of them.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna have a lot of problems down the road, even just with the 2. Even though the 2 is nice, like there's enough drawbacks that I'm perfectly fine with having both ships. But like, it just means it's more work for me, and and I already had to do a lot of work for this campaign. So
It's a really cool sci-fi campaign. We stream it every Wednesday, so if you're interested in seeing what happens next and how we deal with it, it's streamed every Wednesday starting probably at 11 a.m. going to about 3 p.m. Or 3:30. We kind of bleed over sometimes, or start a little earlier or later. So
I will attest that all the players share one brain cell,
we do.
and it's hilarious. It drives me a little
Wait,
insane sometimes. But it is
between them, there's
hilarious.
a whole brain cell.
Yeah, we share it through
It's
a
shocking,
cloud.
right?
I'm surprised. I thought we're at most like half.
Half brain.
Being generous.
No,
like,
we share the same brain cell only when we come into Blue Light Lobby. When we come home, we don't have that brain cell.
are
we
you
donated it here.
Are you using the 3060 Ti's to boost your brain power?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
that makes sense.
And then the 3070 is off the stream setup, so we're just trying to get that power, even more. We might get to 1.1 brain cell, you know what I mean? By the end of this.
You
we
know,
don't
you might get to 1.1 if you also use the 3090
That's
in
true.
here for
Yeah, and if
brain
we can
power.
mine enough brain cell power.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
It
maybe
works like
we
crypto,
can
right?
maybe get 1.5 out of this sucker. You never
like brain coin. Like, is that a
know.
thing?
Brain coin.
Is brain coin a thing? If not,
should
I
be.
want it to be a thing.
I'll be like, I'm mining brain.
I'm mining the brains.
Like it should be.
we need to patent that right now. Copyright Blue Light Lobby right now. The brain coin.
What we need to do with brain coin is make so NFTs don't work on it. Like non NFT compatible.
Okay. I'd be like, hey, if people want to use our coin and waste it on something, go for it.
No, it's brain coin. You can only use it for smart things.
Okay.
Like investments.
See, I feel like NFTs are a smart thing only if they're applied correctly. I feel like the whole thing of like, oh, I own the rights to this JPEG that someone made that everyone else can copy, and making that have value when it really doesn't is
Supply and demand. Welcome.
kind of a weird thing. But like, if they want to do that, I don't really care. But I think what would be really cool, what if game licenses were based on NFTs and we're actually in a crypto or like cryptographic setting where you actually could like buy and sell them on a free market.
So
That'd be cool.
GameStop 2.0.
Basically, yeah.
How hard would that be to make? It's my question. Like,
Oh man.
that'd be beautiful to make.
I mean, if Aiden and I really sat down and wasted 6 months, we could probably put it together.
You heard it here first. JG's gonna waste 6 months of his life, hopefully getting
No,
something.
but I have to do other things with that 6 months, like run the store, get an esports
Jordan,
team going.
Jordan.
Too much.
You're being promoted to unpaid intern.
No.
Promoted. What a great promotion.
That's called slavery. That's what that is, and that's illegal. It's kind of illegal.
Unpaid internships are
they actually
legal
do
in the
have
state of
unpaid
Idaho.
interns that are actually all over the place here. It's actually
Yeah, like
Yeah, I know.
Idaho, like Rexburg, like probably
Yes.
50%
It
of
is
our
still
jobs.
slavery.
Yes, no, it is. That's the thing. That's so.
We
freaking
are
stupid.
providing a valuable educational experience.
You see, this is the thing I hate. Sorry, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. I think what I hate about the public school system and like internships in like college in general. They try to get you they're like the school costs like I don't know, like here in like Rexburg, it's like not that bad. Okay, compared especially to like we'll just say we'll just go just BYU Idaho tuition's like 2,200. Okay, Utah State when I was there was 4,800.
There was one that I wanted to go to that was going to be I think it was like 78,000 a semester or something like that, but it was like a private one down in Florida for game development.
Yeah,
It was ridiculous.
Like ASU, I was like looking for online programs for a while just to be like finish my degree or something. And ASU online is like $15,000. That's not even the school or on campus or housing or anything like that. And then you look at the bigger, higher schools around like USC, $40K a semester. Like what? And then they expect us to be able to do internships for dirt cheap to nothing, and then have life experience sitting at a desk for 9 to 5. I just feel like we have this freedom that is controlled.
My favorite meme about that is where the creator of Ruby, the coding language, as a joke.
Not the Rooster Teeth show.
No, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
I was disappointed.
well, like it was that or Python, as a joke, like applied to a job that asked for more years of experience than the language had actually existed, and he didn't get the job. And then he posted like their denial online. It was very funny,
The
They're
guy
like-
that made the coding language didn't
Yeah.
get the job
But,
that
like,
he knows so
he
well.
knows so well. But it was funny because like we require 15 years of experience in this language. He's like, well, it's only been out for 8.
Let's be honest. Someone
Yeah.
in HR made that.
No, it's true.
And-
But it just shows the mentality, right? Of where it's like, especially with school, and I feel like with internships.
That's probably an entry level position too. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so dumb.
I saw
So
something
dumb.
interesting. There's this guy who purposely misrepresents his resume, and like at the top of his resume, he says, "This is to get past the machine filters. Call me if you want accurate information." His phone number is right there, right? His name's right there, and then it's exactly the job requirements, just copy and pasted into whatever the resume is. So that way, like the automated system
Go pick up
will pick it
the
up.
keywords.
And like it's like programming jobs and stuff. So he's like, I've outsmarted, and at the bottom he'll put, I outsmarted your machine. Now give me a chance. So it's like, I find it interesting, like the practicality of the solution there, I think's valuable.
I feel like at least there's some jobs, for instance, that require actually knowledge or like experience. For instance, my dad just got a promotion to be a VP. He's been working in sales for ever since he was like 24. So it's been like 20 plus years for him. That he's been working his butt off doing local regional sales manager, quarter of the United States. He sold in Canada for a while. He sold to 32 states. Like, he worked his way, and then now he gets, because he knows this business so well, he actually got it. But like, for instance, this is the thing that gets me the most. So for instance, like entry level jobs. Okay, so I'm 24 years old. I've worked a ton of different jobs. I've worked from a warehouse, salesman, marketer, PR. I've done manual labor. I've worked on a farm. I've worked with horses. I learned how to wrangle horses and to ride them, saddle them, take care of them all in a summer. I can quickly learn things if I sit down, I learn how to do it, I can do it, right? So I applied for this job actually here in Rexburg, okay? I won't say who or what, okay? But I had the qualifications, right? I worked in the restaurant business. I have my food handler's permit. It was the food industry, right? I've been assistant manager at a restaurant. I've worked really closely with like dealing with paperwork, firing, hiring, like stuff like that. They said I didn't have the qualifications, right? And I'm like, I literally have on my resume, I have food handler's permit. I've worked in a restaurant for 2 years during COVID, mind you. I had to work during COVID. Okay, because I was an essential worker back then. And I didn't get the job. And because I didn't have sufficient experience. And then I went back to this restaurant just to see. And I wanted to ask the assistant manager if I could get some help. And I just sat down and talked. I talked a little bit with them, had no manager experience. They literally, what they did, they said I didn't have the qualifications. They interviewed him, hired him right there, forgot the rest of the people. Now, obviously now I work here, which I'm very grateful for. I like this more. I want to get into esports. I want to get into the gaming community. That's where I want my career to go. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, but I still think it's just funny how sometimes people just don't look as well as they should. Like, I've been denied a couple jobs that I know that I could excel at, and I've told them that on a cover letter, for instance, or even called them or went in person like, hey, I'm Jordan Anderson, the guy that just sent you a resume. I just called. I'm walking in saying, hey, I'm here to, if you need any further information or you need some like references, here's the card, blah, blah, blah. Still didn't get the jobs. And it's just, I don't understand it just because I don't have my associates. Like some of these like jobs that I didn't get is because I didn't have an associates yet. Because I started prioritizing actually working and actually learning hands-on instead of spending, $4K a year to learn something I could have learned in 2 months of actually doing the job or doing an internship that I got into, like, I don't get that. I mean, some people learn differently, I learn hands-on. That's how I learn. I learn by making a mistake and I fix it and I learn from it and I keep on going forward. I don't like sitting down and someone like in a lecture hall with 150 more people telling us how to learn. You know what I mean? Learn this situation. Like once someone explained it to me a certain way, then it worked better. Or someone showed me in person, like, hey, this is how you make this work. I do it. I'm like, oh, okay, I can copy this very easily. I do it better. And I have that experience already, but I just don't have the associates, the bachelor's degree. I have an internship under my belt already working marketing and sales, you know, and sealing deals for a resort. But apparently I'm not qualified for a job, not different jobs. It's like,
At this point, I think like the associate's degree is the new high school. Like if you don't have at least an associate's degree anymore, I feel like employers look at that and go, oh,
he's like,
he's lazy. He didn't decide to go to 2 extra years. And it's like I have probably 20 different certificates in programming and Microsoft products and stuff, but it's a company would look at that and go, oh, you're good at PowerPoint. It's like, yeah, you know, I have this certification that takes a couple $100 just to take the test, and I got it for the whole Office suite and these programming languages, and they go, oh, so are you good at anything? It's like, well, doesn't that show right there? It's like you literally said in your thing you want someone who's proficient in Microsoft Office products. I have every single certificate for Office Suite, the version you use. Should that not be enough to say, hey, I literally have the master certificate for it? That sounds like that should be proficient. And they go, oh, I don't know. It's like, do I need to show you a slideshow?
Do I have to create a slideshow?
Like, I'll create an Access database and let you access my Access database and have it so you have this nice little GUI too to click on. It's like, what more do you want?
I can even put sounds in there. I know, crazy.
Sounds in Excel?
As an employer, though, so let's see. I've had to interview a lot of people and get things. I've always been a more in-person communicator more than anything.
Yeah.
I thrive off of interpersonal communication that's real and not just a text or a letter or a phone call. Those are also really important, and I use them all the time. But when it comes to hiring somebody I'll be working with, I want to at least see them in person first.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Or at least something, and have some sort of history so I can see how they work. But I was shocked when we put a job out there. This was back in
October, right?
No, this is starting way back, like in last April. We put out an application for people to just do intern work. We actually worked with a school to be an intern provider. Look for anybody with any kind of marketing experience or experience in web design or in even just photography or video production. And we set the starting rate at about $12 an hour.
That's
up to 16.
That's pretty good.
And we got like no one with any experience applied. It was
that's one of the top employers in town, though. That's like 12 to 16 is you're paying more than every fast food place in town, except Panda Express. Panda Express is weird.
Back then, especially. Like,
yeah.
It picked up more since then.
Yeah, and like that's more than Walmart, which is 15 an hour.
I think people actually would see the high amount and say, "Oh, I'm not good enough for that," or they wouldn't. They almost like some
people with the experience.
Yeah, or people would see like the high price point and say, "Oh, I'm not worth that." I think because we dropped the 10 and then they all came flowing in, and it was really strange. We just dropped we lowered the pay, and more people applied. And it's funny because we're like, okay, I guess it works for us too. If we don't have to pay you more, we won't pay you more. But like, we felt bad though because we didn't know what to do about it. At least I felt bad. I'd never hired anybody before in that capacity or at that scale.
I think that just shows like I would put like unpaid and see how many people, like everyone would apply. Here it's like internships are in demand, right? You mark it as unpaid, and then but you put in like the notes like a hourly wage is negotiable.
But to be fair though, we found Braden, who now does work there still. Tyler, we found a lot of very good people who are good at what they do, and hired them on, and they now have become, people who do management work here or have their own businesses here around the area.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see, because our approach to it was not so much, we want an intern who'll just do grunt work, because that's plenty of things. But it's almost self-defeating, because our whole thing was, we told Tyler, like, from the first week he was there, what do you want out of this? Where do you see yourself in a year? He's like, I want to start my own business. I'm like, great, let's do that. And so the whole idea was, they're almost like training him to then fire him later. Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of self-defeating, kind of, but it was
no,
really
you're
cool.
promoting him to customer. You're not firing him. You're
Essentially,
promoting
yes.
him to customer. No,
But-
you're promoting him to small business owner. That's an even better promotion.
But I was just floored by how, like, no one who had any experience for the job we actually applied for it. And if they did, like, one person did, but he demanded like an outrageous amount of money. So it was almost like those who had experience overvalued it, those who didn't have it undervalued it. It was very strange.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a fine line of actually doing and learning, I guess you would say. So for instance, my dad, he just got he was recently hired on, this new company, and then now he just got promoted just because of his experience. And so he had to hire some people on, and he said, you'd be surprised how many people in the professional sales world have a lot of knowledge, just don't have a lot of experience. So for instance, he said, there's a guy, he only had his bachelor's degrees. He's been working in sales for 25 years in the companies, like very similar companies that I'm looking for. And when I sat down and talked with him, he was very professional. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly how to get to the customer. He knew how to communicate very efficiently, and it was really awesome for him. Blah, blah, blah. He then interviewed this guy that got his PhD in like sales communication or something like that. It was something very specific that he was looking for. The issue was he only had like 5 years of experience. And as he was talking to him, like giving these scenarios of like, customers, blah, 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 he didn't have the same rhythm, the same feel. He had this terminology and this like by the book reputation, but it wasn't the thing that my dad was looking for. So he hired the guy with just a bachelor's degree, and he ended up being a phenomenal salesman that actually broke the previous like sales record. I feel like there should be more of a line of, okay, yes, there are certain things you need to learn, like very essential things. So for instance, like being a doctor,
I want my doctor to have a degree.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I
like 50. I want the most experienced doctor with the most degrees who went to the most prestigious school. Just tell me what check I need to cut. I want my life to be saved.
I would like my doctor to know exactly how to fix me, that is important to me. But for instance, to start an entry-level sales, most people can learn that within 2 months of working the job and be proficient at it quicker than 2 years of doing school and spending $50K. You know what I mean?
Well, for example, like
My
coding.
second month of working my current job, I broke the all-time sales record for my store. And then they're like, oh, you're not supposed to be able to do that. It's like, you told me what to do and I just did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you wrote you guys said this is a proven formula. I applied it. What more does it take?
But for example, one thing I think in coding, like it's in school, they've taught me how to code certain things, and it was actually very useful to learn in those environments with a lot of assistance and help how to do higher level things. For example, if just a simpler thing like recursion, where a function calls itself, and so you have like a looping. Anyway, that was really well taught. There are a lot of things that are also really well taught as far as search functions and how to structure data types in certain ways. But what they never taught me was, okay, you are a lead in this project. You have to code a solution for this. Do it in a week. How do you manage the people? How do you manage the projects? How do you actually get that done in a week?
And the sad thing is, that's a whole nother degree.
Yeah.
A business management.
Exactly.
Or leadership.
But like so much of coding is usually business management.
It's
or people
yeah.
management, or like knowing enough of the code
I-
to get the job done. But
I
also,
had
how
one-
do you make it get done in time? It's like, oh.
I had one professor who he had quit his job at Microsoft because one, he found it too boring, and he's like, I'd rather go to a campus. He's like 29. He's working for Microsoft for like 4 years at this point. Quit. He's like, I've made my money. I'll go work for the university. Got a job here at the university, and then he's like, all right guys, all your tests you're going to do as a team. All your projects you must do as a team. You may do them solo, but if you do them as a team, there is no point reduction there. You can just freely do that. Also, you have access to Google because you have access to Google in real life. Everyone loved him. There was 3 kids that failed his class. Reason? They just didn't do anything. Like, he's like, I don't care if you show up to my class and play video games. As long as the work's done, that's all that matters. He's like, attendance is not mandatory, but darn, it'll make it easier. He's like, I am going to treat my classroom like it is the workplace. You do not have to show up at Microsoft or Amazon. You have as many sick days as you want. They're partial because then they don't have to pay out sick days. But he's like, if you don't show up, whatever. If you miss content, then get it from someone. Everything will be put into SharePoint. Good luck.
I had a class like that, and we, for coding it, and we actually did a 4-man group, and like blew it out of the water. I did it so well on it, and the teacher's like, next time, only have pairs of like 2, maybe 3. So we just split into 2 other groups and blew out of the water again. He's like, okay, good, like whatever. And now I
Figured
know,
it out, yeah.
like it wasn't just one of you pulling your weight. It's actually, it was all 4 of you came together, and we actually proved that.
We did a 6-man group, and
Yeah.
we realized like you didn't have to really do anything if you have a 6-man group because everyone is so little at that point.
If you do it right.
Like,
We actually had like a
probably
software we did
divvied.
where that would like we use like an add-on to GitHub, so we could actually track who put what code in when and where, and it showed
I
them,
love
like,
GitHub.
an overlay of like who coded what, and it was actually really balanced. And so like, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. But I think they meant it was like pair programming. We're like, we'll do 4 because they didn't specify.
Yeah.
It was pairs. That's what they expected.
Yeah.
And they're like, this makes it too easy. And we're like, you're kind of right.
Yeah.
Then like back in high school, we had this like, I had this project. It was just JavaScript, and we were like, well, we had the teacher like, can we? They're like, yeah, you need to upload to Google Drive and share. We were like, can we just use GitHub? She's like, what's that? Her degree is in like programming and stuff too. That's the worst part. And
One of my professors,
but
at
it was like
BYU
old
talking about how-
IBM mainframes she grew up with, and I was just, and so
Like-
we used GitHub, and then she's like,
They had punch cards. It was
I know.
insane. Like,
oh, it was crazy, and then it's like we started using GitHub because we're like, well, keep track of our project. Nothing, we won't lose anything this way. We can import it really easily into the software we're using. And then we realized something else. We're like, wait, this software, like this learning software, like they'd unlock certain parts of JS for you. But we realized on the projects that we were actually graded on outside of the lessons that we weren't, you could use any commands you wanted. All of a sudden, our code was 4 lines. For something that everyone else said was about 500. Ours was 4 lines of code. Blew everything else out of the water. And the teacher's like, I can't understand this. It's like, right-click, inspect element on a Google search and tell me you can understand that. This is what we call efficient code. It was less than 200 characters, but it did its darn job of random D&D map generation. Totally did. But everyone else was like, how do we do this? And we're like, well, they gave us a draw tool.
Yeah.
Like just draw on the canvas and randomize it with preset blocks.
It's funny, but like, there's some pretty cool coding things I've done in the past. But I understand taking resources away from students to help them learn how to work without them. But it is a little ridiculous. You're like,
We
as a
have
coder,
Google, we have YouTube.
I have
we
a computer that can calculate anything I want. Why do I take a math class where I do math by hand? When I sure to understand it maybe, but why do that
I understand
entire
the basics.
year
Yeah.
of linear algebra by hand when I have a computer that does it all for me?
Oh,
What's the point?
That's even worse. I was on campus taking calculus back when I was computer science major before I switched to software engineering. And taking calculus, no, this was calculus 2. And we were told on test 4 function calculators. In classroom, you can use a scientific calculator. But this is calculus 2. You need a graphing calculator for calculus 2. And then I get fed up that I later learn on Rate My Professor and from other students, this professor has the lowest or has the highest fail rate out of any professor in the whole mathematics department. And I was like, I D in this class, like, well, it won't count for me anyways. I'm just gonna fail this class, right? So like, well, I might as well like call out this teacher on their stuff. So go up to the teacher, go, why can't we use a cat? Like I was like, this is a good question. Why can't we use a graphing calculator or even a scientific calculator on test? They're like, oh, you won't always have a calculator with you. I was like, I pulled out my phone and said, is this not a scientific calculator? And I can install a graphing calculator app in 30 seconds. Like, well, if someone wants to become a doctor or a nurse, like, well, we don't have a doctorate program at this school. So, but I guess we do have a nursing program, but why would they be needing to do calculus too? They do simple math for medicines. I bet you most of the students in here are computer science students because it's required. And he's like, no, there's no way that's true. I was like, well, I'm like, you should have, not me. I turn around, face the classroom, and say, hey, guys, raise your hand if you're a computer science student. Everyone but 2 people in the class of 50 raised their hand. And then I just like, so, who was right? And then they say nothing, and I just walk out. I'm just like, I didn't go back to that classroom the rest of the semester. I was like, I just wasn't going to show my face there after that, but I switched majors right after that and just withdrew from the course. But it's like
there is something probably be said about the culture behind mathematics. Doing it by hand has been
it's like what was it, cursive. How when you were in elementary school, they're like, you're gonna need to write cursive and blah 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 blah. They don't teach that anymore. It's useless.
Right, it's useful. How you supposed
useful,
to sign your name? That's all you need to know is how to sign your name.
Yeah, I usually just do a scribble or a smiley face if I'm feeling fancy. So, or just have my first initial scribble, last initial scribble. It's the same pattern, but like,
It does its job.
Yeah, but like,
let's say like me
we
and I was
can literally. Okay, so you can literally search about anything on the internet. I mean, yes, you have to make sure that's true.
No, it's true. Like 2 years ago, some of my signed things that looked terrible, and I was like, you know what? I want a nice signature. I want it to look good, and I want it to look good. And so I grabbed a bunch of workbooks for like Spencerian penmanship from back in like the 1800s that were like open source and free now because they're just it's been so
Copyright's expired.
Exactly. And I practiced for like 3 or 4 weeks, just doing it, and then I practiced for another month, just like writing my name, and now it's like it looks great. I think it looks fun and it's good, and I can do it on a heart and like drop of a hat. I'm like, great, I learned all I need to learn. Whereas it took me like, maybe total 10 hours of actual work across like a month to do that. It's like, man, I thank you all the time in school that I wasted not doing this.
Yeah,
this fast. I don't know.
So like for instance, part of my major that I used to have it was visual communications between like market. It's a hybrid between marketing and graphic design, and so we had to take this visual media class, which is like very basic for Adobe products like Photoshop, Illustrator, XD. Yeah, but it was very basic graphic design, basically, commercial graphic design. And most of the stuff my professor said, hey, like if you need any help, ask me. If if I don't reply within 30 minutes, literally you can go on YouTube, watch a 10-minute tutorial how to do it, and do it twice as better. It's very easy to learn a lot of simple things, a lot of basics. Like for instance, my sister had to do a really like her final senior project's coming up, and she has to do a lot of this artistic stuff. And she's like, I want to make it look nice, so she went on YouTube, literally learned how to do some like basic color gradients, formatting, page layout. She learned all this within like 3 or 4 hours. Okay, and she like yes, she has hiccups there, but then she searched on the YouTube how to fix those hiccups, easily fixes it, and makes it look that much better. Like she learned how to do an Illustrator within a weekend, like a basic Illustrator of the gradients, colors, like page slides, mergers, like like all this basic stuff that my college class took me 4 or 5 months. She learned it over a weekend. Yes, the professor was nice. She was really good because it was very applicable, and she was like, we actually made a couple advertisements for local businesses. But like my sister learned that in the weekend over YouTube. Like there's so many things you can learn. We have so much access to information that people just don't get. So I don't know.
Well, like I made a game in middle school and high school that it took about 100 hours of YouTube to get like the first draft done, because the high school and middle school had this license for Game Maker. It's like, well, I can use this to make something cool. Showed a little demo to some of my friends. Like, this is really cool. Like, can I have a copy? I was like, yeah, it's not really where I want it to be, So, I watched some more YouTube, work on it for about a month. And then I turn around, like, and this is a month of me being like, spending half my lunch in the library programming it. And then, like, I turn around and go, hey guys, like, try this out. Like, this is even better. Like, you can reload your gun, like, and pick up ammo and health drops. This is cool. And then they are like, well, I was like, yeah, you want a copy? I got a copy on the CD. And I'd printed out like the little CD covers and like burned like a couple hundred discs. Sold out that day. Like literally everyone in my middle school bought a copy of this game. And it was this like little crappy arena shooter. And it was beautiful. Like, it's just dumb addicting. It's kind of like Flappy Bird. How it's just addicting, but it's so simple.
I remember, I found a YouTube video explaining a few basics with like, the Steam. I'm getting tired now, and so everything's I'm losing my thoughts are vanishing as I think them. But things like the Steam support systems to actually do Steam multiplayer lobbies and things with Steam login and figure that out. And then I think I found another one. I had a networked first-person shooter that was very similar to Apex within like 30 minutes. I was like, holy cow! Like it didn't perform as well, didn't look nearly as good. So I didn't have any.
And probably wasn't as secure.
Oh no, for sure. Like so, but I was like, but I can get the bare mechanics working in an afternoon, like from nothing to having that.
You could get something that you'd be willing to throw on the App Store for 99 cents.
Yeah, but it was just really cool to see how it's all out there. You just need to go look for it and find it, and have the wherewithal to actually apply whatever you see and interpret whatever they have on the YouTube video. Because your So you're not gonna be exactly the same usually when you're with your errors or problems you come up with in coding. But
I feel like sometimes that's where like the problem with like the current I feel like university is great for people who need the more time to learn. But like I'd rather be like, all right, here's a 1 month boot camp or a 1 week boot camp.
there definitely are some classes that were actually really, really hard in coding, and we're actually, you like, I walked in and the professor said, okay, this is a self-taught class. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm not teaching anything. You're just going to learn it on your own, but I'm just going to set the pace and say what you have to learn and you'll learn it. And it was really hard. And, I mean, I got like 102%, I think, or I aced the class, but at the same time, it was like I would spend 40 to 50 hours a week on just that class. And it was ridiculous and insane, but I did it. But again, like I it was still nice to actually have like the introduction and like the helps. The TAs were great, and it was helpful. But at the same time, like it was just so much work, and I could have probably done it more effectively on my own. But either way, I am really tired.
Yeah,
Well,
me too.
I guess we'll call it a night then for our first ever
Little
Boo
podcast.
Light podcast.
Ramble session.
Ramble
Ra-
podcast session.
Ramble
There you go.
podcast.
It's also
We need a
impromptu.
name for it. We need a name for it. We'll figure that out eventually. But if you're watching it, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Twitch and Instagram, all that good stuff.
Twitter, Reddit. We have basically any social except MySpace. So
We should work on that.
We should go to MySpace. Why not?
you just throw it on MySpace.
I
might
think it's
as
a
well.
dating site now. But that's
Probably.
okay.
That's okay. People can date our company.
Yeah, someone could date our company, fall in
Elon
love with the 3060s.
We're
and
waiting
just
for you.
Caress the PC. No, that'd be kind of weird.
PC is so beautiful.
Oh, the RGB.
Oh, yes. Well, have a good night, everyone. And live long and prosper, right?
Yeah, there it is.